Coslin, can you please take roll?
Mrs. Feiss? Here. Mr. Grisbeck?
Here.
Mrs. Janasek?
Here.
Mrs. Hoppy?
Here.
Mr. McGregor?
Here.
Mr. Modrak?
Here.
Mr. Scalzo?
Here.
Mrs. Turner? Here. Mr. Christensen?
Here.
9 members present.
Thank you. I have one announcement of executive session to cover. Earlier today, we had executive session for personnel, other legal matters, and receive information. Are there any public comments on the agenda that we're going to cover, topics that we're going to discuss tonight? No? Great. Let's go into the agenda then for the different committees. So the goal for everybody is to review these, ask questions, and then at the end of each committee review, recommend content that will be added to the consent agenda for the next meeting. So Vince Scalzo, can you?
Yep. Okay, under curriculum, we have 2 items. Number 1, agreement with Rubicon West. Number 2, approval of proposal for student attitudinal survey. I would recommend 1 and 2 to be placed on the consent agenda. Now's the time for questions.
I do have a question. With Rubicon, are we paying this annually, quarterly? How is this payment? And how will it continue on if we use the MAP curriculum system?
So this is a 3-year license with one 3-year price that would be invoiced all at once. And this is in the budget.
Could the curriculum coordinators explain the Atlas curriculum mapping system? Thanks.
We use the Atlas mapping software to curate and warehouse all of the curriculum maps. So we began our contract with Atlas at the beginning of this school year. And this year, the departments work together to begin mapping stage 1, which is essentially all of your standards and in the sequence that you're going to be teaching them. We'll be using it to continue on with the curriculum mapping. Stage 2 will be looking at assessments. And then stage 3 is when you actually start to begin planning the lesson experiences, all making sure that they're aligned with the standards and that the assessment is having students demonstrate what you wanted them to master. So this software tool, allows us to warehouse our curriculum maps in it, but it's also a great way for the teachers to collaborate during this process. So they're all working together. There are resources there to support them throughout the process. So it's not only a warehousing tool, but also a facilitation tool for the curriculum mapping process.
Can I just add one little piece that all teachers have access, they can view all the maps, and eventually there is a public-facing feature. So eventually, as the maps are complete, there will be an availability for the public to see certain aspects of those maps.
I have a question, clarification. Question, clarification on number 2, the PASS survey. And I know that and the BESS were talked about a lot at the February meeting when I was meeting with the Department of Education on other things. One of the things I was wondering about was I was looking for information on just the opt-in, opt-out in general, because I know from my experience in districts that in public education, it's generally best practice to do all of those things as opt-out. So I did some research to try to figure out like the argument for opt-in rather than opt-out. And I did find one place making a case for that, the American Enterprise Institute. They're trying to get, I guess, the federal law changed for that. But, one of the things that I think Mr. Christensen was talking about was the law surrounding, is it PPAR or something, the student data. So I read through that, and it it seems to actually indicate that, I lost the tab. It seems to indicate that as long as parents are given information about what is happening with clear information, an opportunity to get more information, and directions on how to opt out, even that law indicates that opt out is okay. So I guess my question is, are there any changes to that law, or has there been case law? I just wanted to clarify that it doesn't seem to me that we actually doing either the PASS or the BESS or a climate survey actually is in violation of that federal law. But I wanted to kind of clarify that. I don't want people to think that we were in violation if we were to do those things.
No, and so so the law that you're referencing, that you shared with me in advance of this meeting, is the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment, which is a federal law that gives certain rights to parents to receive advance notice of certain types of screeners and other sensitive information, and provides them with an opportunity to opt out. So we do generally believe that, soft communications that's oftentimes in the form of a letter or an email with general information in advance of a screener, if it has that type of sensitive information. And I think BESS, that particular screener had the type of information that law specifically pointed to. I'm not certain if PASS does in a similar way, but that we provide certain notice and make sure the parents are at least aware at some level, or made aware as an affirmative communication, and can take advantage of that. So that is a law. Now there's other layers where districts determine when must you give that notice and when may you give that notice and take a different approach. And I think there's more flexibility there. I don't think opt-in is not a legal requirement for certain types of information, but I think as a matter of policy and practice, a lot of boards and districts find that that opting out or providing that as an option is a strategy that they wish to employ. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
And I can look at case law. I didn't have
Yeah.
time right before the meeting to look for case law for you. But
I didn't want
general
anyone to
proposition-
have the impression that that the original proposals to do things as opt out were in conflict with
No.
that law. So I appreciate the clarification.
But when you
Right.
look at-
I mean, matters of if we like it or don't like it or personally have other opinions about it are one thing. I just wanted to clarify the law. So I
So
appreciate
it
that.
is a law in terms of, a commercial setting, how you do marketing, how you collect data. I think it's also regarded as just the standard of decency of how we treat personal information around the globe. So those eight items under this Pupils Privacy Act, they would appear in GDPR, which is a European standard that's fast becoming the global standard for data privacy. It's like a decency standard of 8 core principles.
And that law is kind of speaking to like a floor or a minimum of efforts and information that districts should be sharing with parents.
Dr. Walsh, the PASS was the survey that was intended for opt-out per our last conversations, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then the BESS, as it currently stands, is opt-in?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think the PASS looks like a really good way to take a temperature of where students are in terms of being ready for learning, and figuring out who needs the additional support to, learn some skills, some coping mechanisms, check and see, is there a problem with another student? Is there a problem with an adult? That kind of thing, like what's going on. So I think it has a lot of value. And I think the information it supplies to the staff about what to do if they have a concern for a student, recommendations to work through is very valuable and important. I don't think it replaces a mental health screener, and I don't think it replaces a climate survey. but it's good to have it. But in my opinion, it's not a substitute for those other things. So I don't oppose it. I do support it.
And from a privacy standpoint, I mean, I only have a point of view because I worked in marketing a long time and dealt with a lot of the European standards around privacy, and we had to deal with those things. And you know, I looked at the past, I didn't see anything related to privacy, like personal privacy, that would be considered protected. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with that one at all.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I recommend we move both to the consent agenda.
Very good. Any objections? Any other questions? Okay. Darren, Personnel Committee.
Okay, under personnel, there are 4 items tonight. Number 1, acceptance of resignations. Number 2, appointment of personnel. Number 3, approval of unpaid leave of absence. And number 4, change of assignment. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussions, I move items 1 through 4 to the consent agenda. If okay.
Any that people want held out?
No, I just have a question, and I believe it's the change of assignment. We're splitting 2 elementary schools for custodial reasons. Are we giving them both because the size difference is large? One is quite a large building with 350 students, and one is the smallest building in the district. Are we giving them both the amount of cleaning that they would need if we're splitting an 8-hour shift?
That position was already a split position and was created by, I think it was Mr., I can't remember his name, Mark Briggs, who passed away. So it's filling that position, and then the other position, D, is moving into that other position. So it's just a shifting around. The positions aren't new. They already existed that way.
Okay.
Okay, so all those move to consent agenda. Mr. Grisbeck, can you take the Finance Committee items?
Yes, I can. We have 13 items tonight under the Finance Committee agenda. Item number 1, March 2023 salaries and bills. 2, February 2023 financial report. 3, budgetary transfers. 4, acceptance of a monetary donation of $430 for the school lunch/breakfast program. Number 5, Allegheny Intermediate Unit Program of Services budget. For that, the total Bethel Park contribution is $73,038. Number 6, payment for Independence Middle School Phase 2 renovations for $6,277.50 to Hayes Design Group. Number 7, approval of resolution number 3, TAC 2023, enforcing collection of delinquent real estate taxes and other municipal claims pursuant to Act 1 of 1996 and Act 20 of 2023. Number 8, Kennedy School driving at no cost to the school district. Number 9, payment for the new K-5 elementary school project for $6,281.07 to Herbert Rowland and Grubik, Inc. Number 10, purchase of Power School Specials program at a cost of $26,282 for the first year and annually at a cost of $22,497. Number 11, acceptance of donation of a storage shed. Number 12, acceptance of donation of an air purifier. And number 13, acceptance of donation of a commercial freezer. Does anyone have any questions about any of those, or would anyone like any of them held out?
I have a question about number 7. Megan, can you explain? Thank you.
So this relates to delinquent real estate tax collection. The district is required to state its fees and the mechanisms by which delinquent real estate taxes are collected. You have an existing resolution. This is a resolution that is standardized across all of our delinquent tax collection clients. And so to do it that way provides both efficiency and also it updates an element of fairness. There are some modest increases in the litigation realm. I will say the vast majority of all accounts are solved far before we get to a litigation posture. With any delinquent real estate taxpayers. We also added another element this year with a validation notice which is an additional pre-litigation notice. And our hope is that that will alert delinquent tax account property owners that at least an account has been turned over to us to check their records, to provide for an opportunity to resolve that early on and in a less adversarial manner. And so this resolution provides for that process as well.
The validation was the
That's
question,
what the
because that was
validation-
a total difference from last year to this year.
It was, and we think it adds, just a different layer of communication, and hopefully one that allows people just to kind of just get caught up quickly. There's and sometimes we do find that there's just a lot. There's been a payment or some information made that is, for whatever reason, just was not accurately reflected in the turnover. There's a lot of accounts, so that's not a problem necessarily with your current year tax collector, but it's just a matter of record keeping, and we want to do our best to have good accounts early on and streamline that process for you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Dr. Walsh, could you please explain Power School?
Actually, I'm going to ask our Student Sports Services Department to do that.
Power School is the student support services programming that organizes all of our compliance paperwork. That includes GIEPs, 504s, as well as special education paperwork. It also complies all the paperwork that would go to PIMS for our state reporting for title, our December 1 counts. That's all reported to the state. Essentially, our current programming that we're using is IEP Plus, and it is being what they call sunset when it's no longer being serviced, and that is going extinct the end of September of next year. So we have to purchase new software for this upcoming school year.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Walsh, could you address 8 Kennedy School of Driving for anyone who has not yet had the pleasure of a teen learning to drive, what we do with them?
Well, it really is just sort of an approval for them to offer driver's ed classroom and driving instruction on our campus and our facilities. Families would pay Kennedy School directly. The district can claim a very, very modest reimbursement from the state for having offered a program through a service like Kennedy. So our obligation, the board's obligation, is to approve them as the provider, and then sometime in the fall to be approving all of the drivers as registered, clearances and so forth.
Thank you. I sometimes get people thinking that means we have a class we offer
Yeah.
through the district, so I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
It's sort of a subcontractor.
No, but it's a great program, not to put a plug in for them, but from a student standpoint, they don't have to go to the DMV or to take their test. They take it with that instructor. Both my kids did it. It's great. Again, that's not an advertisement. Okay.
And I did just want to comment, thank you very much for all of the people and the entities that have made donations to the district for the benefit of our students. We appreciate you. Thanks.
Are there any that people want held out from the consent agenda?
All right.
No?
I
Okay.
move items 1 through 13 to the consent agenda in that case.
Okay, and Ms. Turner, can you take the
Yes.
policy?
Policy, third and final reading of Policy 11, Policy 204, 221, 233, 251, and 810. All but 11 deal with the homelessness situation that we had to update on our policies with PSBA. And they should all be moved to the consent agenda for,
Okay, because it's the final.
right,
reading,
so
yeah.
it'll be approved on the 28th.
Any questions on those policies? Any comments? Okay. We have one under other student agreement. I recommend we move that to the consent agenda. That's it. Any public comments on anything else related to school, business? No? Any board comments?
I told a couple of them last night because we stopped for ice cream, but the play was fantastic. Those students were amazing. The fact that they finished the play and were working on Sunday and Monday at ice cream stores was pretty amazing. And good luck to all of the spring sports that had started this week, and a little bit of nice weather. You know, as one said, they only needed the hat, the gloves, and the short parka to watch baseball this week.
Anything else? Any other board comments? Motion to adjourn? All in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned.